It's an honor and a pleasure to have this opportunity to share an understanding of brain education for enhanced learning. I've been saying the next frontier in education, and that frontier is now. We are at that point in the history, and what I'd like to do is to share with you, just touching base on history and human educational approaches, why BE is the frontier, how and why and the benefits of BE, research, what's going on in terms of implementation, practical application in schools, and kind of a status of where we are. You know, I began this journey, and so many of you have heard this story, but you know, it's worth kind of summarizing again because nothing happens by accident. And I started this journey 3 years ago and became passionate about brain education that have taken me off the golf course for 365 days out of a year, traveling to promote and to help the next generation. Because I joined this whole process to improve flexibility in a golf game. And from that journey, I'm ending up here with you. That means that I went to a conference in 2004 when Dr. Ilshih Lee was presenting. I saw Dr. Pavel, and I saw the power of one, Ilshih Lee, and what he had accomplished at that time. And I think about what we have accomplished in brain education with him as the creator of this. Then we have taken that, and it's like, as someone we were talking this morning, it's like a neuron. We are developing new neuron channels for brain education for enhanced learning in the United States. Thank you, because you are helping this to make possible. You are creating the new neural pathways. And before I move on, I would like you to close your eyes for a minute. Let's get into that first time you entered school. Okay, go back, close your eyes. Was it preschool? Was it kindergarten? The first day, first week in school. What did you see? How did you feel? What do you remember? Those first few days in school. Was it really happy? Were you torn going away from your parents? Were you sitting in rows of desks? Go to the second, third grade. What do you remember? Do you smell blackboard, chalk? What kind of a teacher did you have? Was it a great learning experience, happy, playing with children, looking forward to recess? Was it a powerful early development stages for you? You see that classroom, you see the teachers, you see your friends, you see others. Okay, just open your eyes, take a deep breath. Okay, let me share mine. When I started into brain education, I reflected back on my own schooling. I remember sitting in rows of desks. I went to Catholic school, so I got my knuckles cracked every once in a while when I wasn't the best student in that first grade, second grade. I loved recess. I mean, you'd give me, I would do anything till I could get to recess. I could play ball, I could go run, and that's what I remember about school, is the playing. I loved playing. And I remember Sister Columbier used to say, up until I got to the 4th grade, I was a problem child. I mean, I was always on my knees in a corner or something. You know, and my dad, I'd get home and he'd take the bicycle away from me and, you know, tell me that, you know, when I got a strict teacher, then from the 5th grade on, it had a tremendous impact on me because that teacher cared enough for me that I could listen, and I started getting the academic success. Let's go back. You know, the history of civilization have always passed on information for survival. And originally, a lot of that was storytelling. That's why we love stories to a great extent now, because tradition, learning experiences were passed on first from verbal, oral, because there were no written texts at that time. From the earliest time of human civilization, educational approaches, learning approaches have been developed that reflect the social, economic, technological factors during that time. And if you look at history of education, we have moved from that kind of education to homeschooling in the times when there were no schools. But today, how much of that has changed from, in this country, the early 1700s, coming out of the home where reading, writing, math, the Bible was used. They call it a horn book was used. We look through now and we say, education is struggling with the rapid changes that we've had. How is it keeping up with the world being smaller? It struggles with students who have discipline problems, who have lost a sense of meaning. You look at today and you look at this list of things and we say, what's going on today in this smaller world where there's a loss of sense of purpose to a great extent, where there are less meaning for young people, is so much individualization that we find today it is not taking care of the well-being of the total child. It's primarily focused on the cognitive part. That cognitive part have started for centuries here. That's where the focus has primarily been on, and it is still today. Nowhere in any of the research that I did, looking back as far as I could, was there a focus on the brain. In the 1940s, 50s, when behavioral Skinner approach, they started to say, you know, we do not know what goes on in the brain. So we can't address that, but we can see behavior and let's reward and punish that behavior. Do you think that is still in our educational systems today? Reward and punishment. Reward if you do good on a test, you get an A, you get rewarded. If you don't, you're punished. We are so driven today by an emphasis on sit and sit and test, or drill and kill. It's so much an aspect. Health is not. Look at the obesity issue that we have. You know, there is not much experiential learning. We've had, back in John Dewey, you think about John Dewey in this country, about experience and learning by doing. That was not a part and did not go all the way through our educational system. We do have a lot of unsafe environments in our educational system, and we have discipline problems. You know, the time has come because for a frontier that's now that education that is designed recognizing the power and potential of the human brain for health, happiness, peace, prosperity. The time for that is now, given all the conditions in this world. The time is now. We are on the forefront of this. I think about the spread of this as all of us being a neuron with our axion on it, with the dendrites on it. And what we're doing as we multiply is adding new neurons and synapses, and we're going to make this, we are all that, and we're going to grow that brain to spread brain education for enhanced learning around the world. You are a powerful neuron in the brain that we are connecting to develop this in the world. You know, we have to move beyond to what is brain-focused education and what is brain education for enhanced learning. Let me go. We're going to cover what it is, how it works, what research has been done, suggested implementation in schools, as well as the kind of application status of brain education for enhanced learning. To start this off, I would like to show you a DVD on what is brain education for enhanced learning. Can I have that, please?
This is Union Ridge School in Chicago. Here is the special brain education class taught daily called Brain-Body Connection. In comfortable clothing, students are awakening their bodies and brains through a well-designed 60-minute stretching and relaxation program.
Since this class, I've been more energized and ready to go to any class that's next.
Well, the thoughts I have about this class is it's very relaxing and it helps me concentrate in my LA class as well as my other classes.
My mom, she noticed that I was more calm and relaxed and I didn't yell as much at home.
This is Timbuktu Academy in Detroit, Michigan. About 350 students from K to 8th grade are participating BE training once a week.
This is what education needs to do more of, and not the deductive type of learning that we have, but really one that it comes from the inside out, that people experience it and then they learn from that.
Through the brain education, I truly feel she's 100% again.
She focused more in school.
She's doing amazing. She's a straight A student and only getting better. As the years go by, I thought maybe it was just a fluke. You know, in the beginning, they get A's, you know, in young grades, but she's getting older and still she's getting very good grades.
My son Arpad, who is in 2nd grade now, and that went in kindergarten and then 1st grade, and we entered 2nd grade still with the small words, big print, lots and lots of picture books. And 3 weeks ago, something big happened. Maybe it was just a little click, but it was a huge step for us. Arpad finally started reading age-appropriate books with small print, big words, no pictures whatsoever, and lots and lots of chapters, 100 pages.
Brain Education for Enhanced Learning, or BE, is a powerful educational program for students designed to promote physical, emotional, and social well-being and encourage higher achievement. The BE approach is deeply experiential. Students directly participate in exercises designed to improve physical balance, emotional regulation, as well as test-taking skills, patience, and concentration across multiple subjects. Brain education is divided into 5 basic steps. The first step, brain sensitizing, awakens the brain-body senses, stimulates blood circulation, and enhances awareness of our brain and its functions. The second step, brain versatalizing, focuses on flexibility to free us from our fixed habits or patterns and opens the brain to new information. The third step, brain refreshing, releases negative emotional memories and habits and releases the associated energy toward new perspectives and attitudes. The fourth step, brain integrating, integrates different functional areas of the brain to release latent capabilities and improves communication between the brain's right and left hemispheres. The last step, brain mastering, helps achieve greater mastery over the brain and develops the power of choice and volition. Utilizing more than 360 activities that involve the elements of movement, breath, and energy, brain education helps students achieve greater mastery or executive control over the brain.
Brain education is designed, and we've seen proof that it assists teachers to better manage a classroom. It really helps the students really turn to look at their own behavior, to be able to better regulate their behavior and emotions, to be able to concentrate, the focus. And brain education is designed to directly reduce the stress.
One of the core features of the BE approach is that it really focuses on every level of the child. So in other words, we're focusing on the physical body, their physical health and well-being, their emotional well-being and their behaviors, as well as their cognition, for example, concentration and imagination. This graph shows that the children in the BE group had more emotional self-management, better concentration, and improved overall learning efficiency compared to those in the control group.
It is recommended that schools implement BE for enhanced learning as the strategic means for accomplishing their highest priority objectives. Implementation begins with a 2-day intensive teacher training, followed by reinforcement trainings and a parent seminar. Brain education incorporates measurements around the BE implementation to evaluate the program impact. BE for Enhanced Learning offers a 1-year curriculum composed of 2 15-week programs covering the 5 progressive stages of BE. Each week consists of a 1-hour lesson which can be reinforced through daily practices lasting 10 to 15 minutes, easily integrated into existing curriculum.
The children that have been on meds because of ADD, ADHD, I have seen them able to use their body and their mind to be able to focus and concentrate better because they've learned how to use their brain in brain education.
It really, really helps them build their self-esteem and their power, helps them focus. I really enjoy working with kids who have special needs and the kids who are maybe a little hyperactive, maybe a little violent. And so you see a huge change in children like that. And so every year you have a couple of kids like that in your class. And it's amazing to see their transition.
The happiness, stability, and strength of the children of the future depend on the wise choices of the adults around them. Educators can choose to enhance children's education by supporting healthy brain function. Health, confidence, patience, motivation, and purpose are based on brain activity. Brain education for enhanced learning is designed to help realize the power of the brain to ensure a better tomorrow.
All right. What I'd like you to do is just turn to 2 or 3 people and just pick out the essence of what you just observed, heard. What is brain education for enhanced learning, and what is it focusing on? Just take a couple minutes with your neighbors next to you, just a couple people, 3 or 4. Discuss it, please, for a minute. What is it? What did you see? Okay, about 30 seconds more, please. Okay, let me have your attention. Let's talk about this subject for a minute. You know, brain education for enhanced learning is designed for students. We're having experience from pre-K to 12th grade to promote the well-being of that total child, the physical, mental, the health, the academic success, peace, happiness. It's designed to promote that in every student. When I looked back at history, I saw mostly students sitting, teachers talking to, or whoever were sharing information. It was from like the outside in, and then the student back through test or some way gives it back out. But it's always from outside in. What brain education is doing, first we start with how do we help the teachers to create that environment that helps to promote children being able to unlock what is needed to be healthy, happy, peaceful, creative, and that kind of a learning environment is critical, and that's why we focus in on teachers, because we need that kind of safe, critical, conducive to learning environment that students can find for themselves from the inside. BE aims to create the efficacy, self-efficacy in every child, focusing in on the brain itself. That's the frontier today, is the focus on the brain itself. That's what brain education for enhanced learning is. It focuses on the brain because all human behavior, the brain is a source of all of that. It is the source of learning, health, happiness, behaviors, emotions, experiences, and we can, through this, have tremendous power of choice. Every neuroscience that I've read about that it seems to be agree on one thing that brain education for enhanced learning supports, and that is you can change your brain. You can grow new neurons. You can get more of the dendrites connected with synapses. You don't ever have to worry about that not growing. That's clearly what's stated by Dr. Ken Wesson. It's based on the knowledge that every student, now this is where it really seems to me to separate itself out, and this is, when I went through my early training, I did not want to go through all of what I had to go through on this journey. I kicked and screamed, and Beck Sundem said, you know, it's probably good for you, why don't you just keep going? I mean, I struggled, okay, in my earlier days on this journey, but there was something always inside of me saying, you know, you're on a journey, you don't know where you're going, but it's going to be good when you get there. And I wondered, what is that? And when I saw brain education for enhanced learning has the power to be able to understand that every human being, every student, has an innate set of crucial human capabilities for happiness, for confidence, for a higher self-esteem, for compassion, for forgiveness, which is a powerful way of achieving inner peace, for health, and for overall well-being. All of that we come here with. Brain education helps to access that, apply that, develop that, and to use that as a tremendous base for increasing learning efficiency for achievement. So we all have that inner self. When I looked back, I didn't see that being focused on at all, and that's located in the brain. And that we can connect to it. But we know so many children, if we an innate have that, we all have it, 5 billion people in the world have it. In this country, 78 million students, pre-K or K to college, 54 million students, K to 12th grade in the United States, around that kind of a number. And all the human beings in the world all have this inner structure that brain education has a system that taps into that and helps people to realize the power that they have to be able to develop that and regulate that they have the power. They do not have to be a victim of their past, that they are able through choice, through understanding that they can master their brain and bodies, that they can create the person they want to create, and that they have control. To me, when I separate that out from everything else, when I got into this and I saw that this could be possible to help children who do not feel they have a chance in this life, that they can connect, and through this system, they can connect to that and override their circumstances. And I always believe every person can achieve much more than they ever thought they could. Sometimes they need a guide. Brain education for enhanced learning is a guide. It's a tool to help to reconnect to why I think we're on this universe. That's the power of brain education for enhanced learning. It's designed to assist students to become aware and to awaken to access, to develop these inner human capabilities, thus reconnecting to this inner self. This is done by looking at a foundation of physical well-being. If we're not physically well, and we have, you have so much energy. Let's say you have 50 points of energy, and you're using 45 of that to take care of some health or, stress or emotions, and you're dealing with all of that. You're not. It's going to be harder to get focused in on those other innate abilities that you have that really brings out the humanness in us. And that's what we need in this society. It's that powerful physical well-being, emotional well-being, as Dr. Weston was saying, emotion drives attention, that drives memory, that drives learning. It talks about emotional regulation. It talks about what we need to do is social well-being. Our brain is social. That's how we survived as a species, by cooperating. If I go out hunting alone, I didn't come back. If I went out with 2 or 3 people, they watched my back, and I could outrun the lion, then they would say, run this way or that way, get out of the way. They found groups. You lived longer, you survived. We are social beings. We need to connect. Babies need to connect. Children need to connect in a school. That's a foundation for higher achievement. Studies have been done that says learning efficiency is related to cognitive development, emotional development, physical development, clearly environmental, and genes. But we know what we can do with genes because we've had to survive, so we've had to deal with that and survive. Movement, physical. There's so much out about that. There's a new book coming out, 2008, January, R-A-T-E-Y. I think it's Spark, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. There's more to it. But a study in Naperville, Illinois, 19,000 students. It's being reported in here about physical movement and the power that that has on. They have the highest test scores in that area. It could be in the state. I don't remember that. 19,000 students. There is a study, and it's based around physical movement. BE starts with physical conditioning, endurance. What are they doing in our schools today with physical education? What are they doing? They're taking it out. Some are beginning to realize that that's critical. But the whole issue of movement, we survive because of movement. That's why we have a brain. You had to go find food. You had to go do things. You had to survive. That helped us survive. That helps when you feel physically and you know you have the strength. That helps with self-confidence. That's what BE does for students. And the thing to always keep remembering, the power of this is from the inside out. It's there. Every potential to be the next president, to be whatever you want to be, is all there. What we need to do is help children to connect to that and realize the power of that. That's what brain education for enhanced learning does. Emotional and social well-being. BE integrates emotions as the gatekeeper, you've heard it, to learning and performance. And that is the joy of learning. Maria Montessori, Italian doctor, wanted the natural way for children to learn. She observed the natural way. Horace Mann. These are people who back, at least Horace Mann in the 80s, 90s, his work continues on even to this day with Ted Sizemore and alternative education, if I'm saying that correctly, that continues on. They had some answers. Maria Montessori had some answers. They talk about developing the inner structure of children, the inner architect of children. We have lost that element because we are so external. We take drugs and we take anything outside to make us feel good. Material things makes us feel good. Our educational system was first set up to help mass produce obedience, orderliness, sitting in rows. They didn't know movement was connected. They didn't have any idea that the brain was connected to the body that way, and how the emotions drives all of this to a great extent. BE helps people to be calmer. You know, if you really think about it, BE helps with gaining internal harmony and balance. Because we are on the outside what we are on the inside. It's a projection. If you're always negative, you see things in the worst light, you're always angry, inside is torn up. You are not in balance. What BE helps children with is to get in balance, to get the human organs working together. When we are emotionally torn up, stress, you know what that does. We're out of balance. We're out of harmony. We all are born with a rhythm of life. And that rhythm of life is intended for us to be healthy, happy, peaceful, creative, and productive. What BE helps children to realize is that when they are inner peace with themselves, and the first way you get there is accepting yourself by forgiving yourself for whatever, to reach down and get inner peace, that leads to peace externally. If I have inner peace in me, I can't hurt another person. I cannot harm another person when I have peace. When I do not have peace and you're around negativity, it's because something is going on the inside. They didn't come here that way. Children don't come with those kinds of emotions. What brain education does through its 5 steps is helps children to push that to a side and to develop powerful, new, positive emotions, which drives higher executive learning. And when we're always in that positive mode, we attract that. It helps with peer relationships. Overall well-being of stamina, strength, physical symptoms go down, better stress management, and we know how many children come to school with stress. I've been a school teacher. I've taught at all levels. And you never leave that classroom, even at night, at home, weekends, correcting papers. And then they're crowding stuff on. We go to schools and hear about this. How are we going to get another minute in a day? You know, we got to test. We got to teach the test. We don't have time to add anything. I'm so overworked, under stress. Well, children are the same way. And a lot of children, as I mentioned, don't come with meaning. We had an incident recently, going through some training. 30-year-old person who was a gang member in LA said, I beat up people. I was good at it. I enjoyed it. And you know why? I didn't have a purpose of meaning. I didn't know why I existed. What BE does is help children to understand what their true purpose in life is. Because we have so many 2-member working families or single home families with children, parents now are looking for the school to do a lot of this. Now, they take them to soccer games, they do this, but do they spend the quality time with them? They're looking for the schools to do that. BE is a technology to help with that. That's the power of this. That's why I've become convinced through my struggles to going through BE training, and I found how it helped me to be calmer, to be more sensitive to my health, to listen and to awaken a lot of those innate things as an adult. It took me pain to go through this, okay? I didn't know it was good for me. Children, we have a chance to catch them now and to let them see the power that they have and the choices that they can make to be who they are, because they have that potential. It's there. We must find and unlock how they can develop the greatest human potential. That's what the brain helps us to do by self-managing the brain. It helps with cognitive functioning, imagination, creativity, and this is through movement, mental exercises, this is through postures, this is through relaxation techniques, it's through sensory motor awareness. You know, you look at the brain and you can see the sensory and the motor, and how much is, Dr. Wesson showed, how much is attributed to our hands and so forth. It helps because movement helps the brain to grow, and visualization, relaxation, I mean, that helps us to get centered. That helps with the balance in our body. We must have balance and harmony to be able to spread that. How does it work? You've heard me talk about this. The physical activities, it increases blood flow. Oh, let's take a breath. Let's just stand up and take a deep breath. Let's get some oxygenation going, as Dr. Wesson said. Just stand up. Let's take about 5 deep breaths. Another deep breath. And let's just move around. You remember that yesterday? Let's get that blood circulating, huh? Let's just move around. All right. Remember that yesterday? Fantastic. Okay, one more time. Give the person next to you a hug, and then let's sit down. Let's just get that human contact. Okay. That gets the blood flowing, physical movement, exercise. That's what we are on this earth to be able to survive, grow, and to help with learning. Sensory awareness, I mentioned that. That's the way we interface with the world, with the society, with the environment, everything is through the senses. And as Dr. Wesson said, how many of those sensory perceptions do we have? Increased tremendously. Stress, he's mentioned this, that needs to be, as Dr. Kane and Kane says, C-A-I-N-E, alert stress. Relaxed alertness, I think, are their terms. A moderate amount is very helpful. There's a curvilinear relationship. There's a certain amount of stress goes up on a curve. When it gets to a certain point and too much, it impairs learning. And so we have methods that helps with better management of the stress. Sometimes it's automatic, but then how we respond to it, BE teaches and have tools to help with that. The human brain has instinct for cooperation. We lose that in schools. That's the way the brain is constructed. The brain is constructed to survive, and it survived through social connections. BE makes it safe environment, play where trust can be developed. Very powerful that way, to the point where students who have gotten in arguments and are ready to fight will go out and do something to control those emotions and that stress that's brought on by that potential interaction. Imagination is critical, creativity. That separates us out. That's the neocortex as we've developed in the last 2 million years. Students in BE for enhanced learning have found that the program that promotes the research that had been done, and I will not go through all of that, has shown that it does have an impact and promotes behavioral, emotional, and cognitive improvement, as well as influencing positive learning efficiency, increases that. There are studies in the paper that was written that's in the proceedings have a reference to these studies. This is the one that clearly shows the learning efficiency with the control group and the other group, that there was an increase in learning efficiency after 3 months. On multiple intelligence, the Gardner, Harvard School education, where brain education is a subject. This was the pre and post control group, fairly similar here. On the control group compared to the after 5 months, the BE group, there were increase in almost all of those dimensions: linguistics, logic, math, spatial, kinesthetic, all the way down, all the way to the naturalists about the environment and so forth, was an increase. How do we introduce this to schools? It's an intensive 2-day teacher training. Every teacher gets trained in it. And what I'd like to do is show you a DVD about teachers being trained in brain education. Let's see that, please.
This is the start of a BE Teachers Workshop, a teacher training lasting 2 days and covering the curriculum of the Brain Education for Enhanced Learning program. Teachers come ready to learn new things and expand their ability to help their students. A unique aspect of this training is that for the 2 days, teachers agree to become 7 years old again in order to awaken their passion and imagination.
I do a lot of work with visualization for comprehension, and the visualization skills are hard to teach kids, so this will be a way to incorporate what I'm already doing with the kids and connect it to another part of their minds for increased comprehension.
The training teaches specially designed exercises, like using the body in unique ways and drawing different shapes with the left and right hand simultaneously to fully activate the brain's potential.
So usually when the teachers and others have training, I don't participate in it. I might be there, but I wanted to be there. I wanted to participate in it, so I did that as a participant. I'm so glad I did, because not only did I realize that it was something beneficial to our students and those people that we serve here, but also it was very beneficial to myself and to the faculty, the staff here.
This could help me work with my kids to build their mental capabilities, increase the use of their brains and working with their body and connecting the two.
I learned so many things that I want to take back to my children to get them motivated to use their brain more. I know the exercises will motivate the children to do well and just stay focused and centered. And as for myself as a teacher, it taught me to be more centered and more confident in what I'm doing. And when I display that to the children, and I think the program will just take them to the next level, what we want them to do.
I've already decided that I'm implementing it into our advisory program, that at least once a week our students will all be trained in this process so that they have the tools that they need so that they can center themselves, so they can complete the task ahead of them.
I experienced the brain education program and it was fantastic. It was beautiful. It teaches them to be focused. It teaches them to believe in themselves and to trust their brain and to have positive energy. And through exercise and to help calm them down and to motivate them and to stay focused. This was phenomenal.
It was a good use of time. I felt like, I was being productive the whole time I was here, and I'd do it again. And I would encourage any of my colleagues to do the same. We hope that we can get BE going in our own school.
Does it look like they were having fun? We need to bring fun. We need to help teachers to manage that stress that's there. And what they learn from this is so much about themselves and how they and their attitudes, how they come to classroom, how that has a tremendous impact on students. As you know, there are workbooks, teacher's manual, 30 lessons. This covers a full year. There are lower grades, upper grades. There are high school book will be out this month shortly, and it's being translated in Spanish. We will leave here like Monday or Tuesday, go to Detroit, and conduct training for an entire school there in Spanish. The next week we're in California, and Spanish workbooks will be ready at that time. So it is, teachers love the teacher manual and the student workbooks that they use. Implementation, it's recommended like one class period. Most schools have a difficult time finding that. Timbuktu has experienced with a lot of different ways, doing it 15 minutes each morning before classes start. It varies. It can vary depending on when you need it. If children come in after lunch, you can do things to quiet them down. If they're taking tests, you can do things to help them become more relaxed, more centered, and they can use what we call a brain screen. And that is put up like you have a movie projector in your head and there's a screen. And recall on that screen what you learned that you should know for this test. A number of different techniques that's used just in time. Timbuktu School Academy. I'd like to have Bernard Parker, the CEO, please stand up and let's give Bernard a big hand. Bernard, please, would you come up here? He is the pioneer for us introducing this to an entire school. 36 teachers, 350 students, and 2-day intensive training for the teachers as well as everyone else who works in that school. It is not just for teachers. What have students learned from this? You know, you look at students, they've hardly been taught that they can tell their brain what to do. They're not on automatic pilot and have to react, well, impulse, that they can pull it in, that they have the power of choice, they have control over their own brain to make choices. Their behavior is a result of their own choices, not that Johnny made me do or Mary made me do. My behavior is a result of my choice to do that. I cannot control what you do to me. What I can control is my response, and they're taught. Timbuktu, they are not controlled by outside forces. They learn about the power of positive energy, you know, to have that for learning, to how to have fun, enjoy. Timbuktu reports teachers. They learn more about their brain. You know, when we were teaching this to the teachers, they said, geez, I never thought about my brain like that. And I need to protect that and pay more attention to it and understand it. That's very powerful. And how to make better choices about being better teachers. Here is before we started implementing BE in November 2006 at Timbuktu. We used the strengths and difficulties, standardized, reliable questionnaire. We had a control group. And we did a pre and post November and then May. And you can see the results. The first bar is normative data. If you go above that, you're in trouble. You can see the pre, and then the post is the third bar, and that's a significant improvement in emotional symptoms, conduct problems, hyperactivity, peer problems, and pro-sociability, all significantly improved. The control group, the above the line on the positive side is Timbuktu. The below is the control group. What statement we can make about this is directionally, this is what we're trying to do, and we would like to do this kind of a thing that builds a base over time for higher achievement. Other schools that we're implementing it in, as I mentioned, we'll be leaving here next week to do that. Those are schools. Kids are kids. This is preschool. We had someone demonstrating last night what 3-year-olds are doing with the Power Brain dance. Is Lori here today? I know she's a judge. She's an owner of this preschool, and they've taken the workbook, adapted it, the teachers, to how to teach 3-year-olds on through. Powerful. This is a heart-wrenching story. I know there's someone here from Albuquerque, Anna, and one person who went through BEL training did not want to teach students. That was not the thing she wanted to do. She wanted to work in the corporate world. She was so moved and transformed by the BE leadership training program that she went on a reservation and lived there for 3 months teaching BE. These are students in dorm who their home conditions were so poorly they wanted to live in a dorm. She taught BE. There were at least a fight a week. Retention was over 50%. By the time she left, after about the first week or two, there were no more fights. There were no more retentions. Students started going to counselors to share some issues, which they never would go to a counselor before. That's the power of this in a short period of time of 3 months. We are in 50 schools. 10 are scheduled to be implemented. We've trained 189 teachers throughout the United States, affecting 4,650 students. We have 15 BE teacher workshops that have been conducted, 30 more are scheduled. That's in 17 regions in the United States, where teachers are invited to come to be trained so that they can teach it in their schools. And there have been more than 300 schools that have been impacted by this. Let's show, we did a follow-up at Timbuktu. And let's take a look at the follow-up of teachers, parents, and students. This was like in probably January or February after we got started in November. Please.
Recently, Brain Education went back to Timbuktu Academy to see how the Power Brain program was being used. Here in the auditorium, kindergartners are gathered for the Power Brain session that will wake them up for learning.
He loves the part about doing the brain education before class. That's a different just a different excitement. It's not like I got to go to school and start hitting the books. Oh, we get to do brain education first.
It's helped a lot with their spelling tests. I can say that. They've had major improvements in their grades on their spelling tests.
For example, my youngest one, my 10-year-old, she was kind of hesitant when it came to tests, but now she has like, oh, I can do it. I have the power to do it, you know.
This is a 5th grade class. Each session, a student representative comes to the front of the class to lead the Power Brain warm-ups. The 8th graders also have time to do the Power Brain program to challenge and awaken their bodies and minds.
They seem more alert when they do the exercises. And when we don't do it, they always, oh, we didn't do Power Brain today, and they're really excited to do it all the time.
Hello, my name is Chaz Moore, and I am a fan of Power Brain. My teacher is Mama Ruby Olden. She's a perfect teacher of Power Brain. I think Power Brain is very good. It helps you stay focused, and it's educational and fun.
Hi, my name is Anisha Whitby, and I'm a big fan of Power Brain. Mama Ruby is my teacher, and she has been a fabulous and wonderful teacher, and I love Power Brain.
I think it's educational and it's good for you.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Moore, and I'm a big fan of Power Brain, and my wonderful teacher, Mama Ruby Olden, taught me this. I think Power Brain is what helps you get energized, ready to run, ready to play, ready to be fitness, and just so healthy.
This is Brain Education at Timbuktu Academy.
Oh, wow. You know, it just makes my heart just go, we have the opportunity to influence and impact children like that in the United States and in the world. And when we are able to do that, we'll have a more humane, peaceful, healthy society in the world. And if you take a look at, for me, for us, all the pioneers in this room that have created the new road to help people understand what this is, there are people in this room who are tireless workers who have carved the path, a new road to understanding how to unlock the humanness in humanity. I was impressed when I first saw that what civilizations in Korea and that territory were trying to do, where leaders caught on to so much violence and so much hatred and killing. And as a child, I often wondered, why man's inhumanity to man? I saw a saying that said there were societies that were attempting to get the whole society to be more enlightened and to awaken the humanness in humanity. Power brain education is a powerful tool to do that in our society. And you know why? It comes from the inside out. It's innate in us. Let's unlock that. And you in this room are on the forefront, and you have made it to the frontier, helping our children. Those pictures, you walk in that school. I grew up in Detroit. I lived in that neighborhood. I know what that's about. And every child has the potential for greatness. To me, it's a powerful way to develop access, create innate human capabilities for health, well-being, peacefulness, and achievement through self-management, and every human being has that power to do that. Let me close with saying I appreciate everyone who's working on this. I developed a passion, I have a passion for brain education for enhanced learning because it has this potential. It has the opportunity to change our paradigm of education. And as pioneers went across this country, they wanted to give up. I mean, they were about starving. And you know what? This journey, when you're cutting new roads, it's not easy. It's hard. You're going to get some flack. How do you know this works? I was interviewed yesterday, and the question was, how do you know this works? Answer that question for our audience. And it's so hard, they have to experience. That's true learning. John Dewey, that's true learning, experience. Then we know it. Let me conclude with something that I think is extremely powerful. Anyone remember John Lennon of the Beatles, the song Imagine? Okay. John Lennon in his song Imagine asked us to imagine a world as a place where we can all live as one. I'm asking all of you, all of us, all of the countries to imagine schools where children go every day and are encouraged to lead a happy, healthy, and peaceful lifestyle through cultivating their powerful, innate human capabilities to be better human beings in society. Imagine schools where children learn and are connected with and are inspired by caring, loving adults. You are that. You are here because you have devoted to being of service and value to others. You are one who can imagine a world like this because you are helping to create it. Imagine a safe, nurturing environment where children learn the cognitive skills they will need to participate in our rapidly changing and globalizing world. They are creative, imaginative, effective decision makers, and creative and critical thinking. Imagine a community where children are taught to give back, a place where they can learn what it means to be generous, compassionate, forgiving. Imagine schools where students learn to respect one another, respect the teachers and the community, society, and our earth that gives us our life. Imagine schools where students are happy, self-confident, high in self-esteem, and with the ability to control their emotions and behavior. In Lennon's lyrics, he asserts, "You may think I'm a dreamer. I don't think you think I'm a dreamer, because what we can visualize, we can materialize." And we envision BE in every school in the world, affecting billions of people, because we are committed to awakening the humanity in humans. And one of the most powerful ways to do that is education for all. That is how we survive, and that is how we will bring peace, health, and happiness to this world. I thank you for your time. You are pioneers, you are leaders. Let's go forth and continue to make this a better world. I love you.